Next up, we go back to the cookie topic. The cookie topic is definitely not going away today. Cookies are quickly going stale. This is a new one. Usually it's about crumbling. Now it's about going stale. So first-party data, we've heard that topic this morning already, is a marketer's new secret ingredient. This time, we turn to Alan Botwright, who is the Master Solutions Architect at Acquia. So over to you, Alan.
Thank you. So thanks for that. My name's Alan Botwright, Master Solution Architect. I've been with the company now, Acquia, for 7 years. I've worked across financial services, retail, media, and pharma. So there's quite a range there. But what I'm seeing is sort of very similar challenges. Just very quickly, Acquia is a leader in open source digital experiences, and what that means is the value that's unlocked when data meets content effectively. That's what we do, and it's what my day job involves. There's been a lot of confusing information out there around cookies, and I haven't seen the earlier presentations today. So from my own research over the sort of last 6 months, particularly around where a lot of the changes have been coming from with Google initially, which is in a way looking at how this is kind of a land grab, is one way of looking at this, between what Google are doing around putting some of the logic that allows you to make decisions around cohorts and behaviors directly into the browser. So that's effectively locking out traditional solutions around third-party data and cookies by stopping those from working at the browser level. But we've also seen obviously the recent changes with Apple as well, and you've probably seen all this play out with the Facebook sort of rows that have been going on there as well. It's quite interesting, but effectively it's the same thing. But it's similar with Facebook sort of pushing people more towards their API. All of this, though, is been a long time coming, and I think it's given us an opportunity, and certainly within my day job, talking to customers across the board, it's sort of, you mentioned earlier on about first-party data. It's really that sort of shift over to first-party data and what that means, and it's generally what the next couple of years looks like. So, just in terms of time for change, I mean, looking at what the cookies were offering us anyway, it was kind of incomplete data. So there's huge limitations around what was possible with third-party cookies anyway, and it's purely acquisition-focused sort of information that we were through this process as well. Again, very limiting, particularly when you get into things like omni-channel and actually trying to formulate a cohesive view of what a customer actually is, which leads us towards areas around first-party data as well. Many organizations have, turns out, tons of first-party data. And it's actually being able to unlock that and to add the additional complexity as well when you start bringing in multiple channels as well. It's what does that look like when you start to look at data across different channels that can tell different stories. So really, that's one challenge that brands are facing, organizations are facing. And the other one, just to compound that, is obviously around the compliance as well, and as well as opt-in, some known as zero-party data is a Forrester term around ability to control permissions and access and what information you ultimately want to provide to your end customers. And that's something that's is fluid as well. When you're starting to look at a typical, 1 second, sorry, I just completely messed up my slide there. Yeah, so we're looking at a typical sort of customer journey or acquisition journey and looking at repeat customers. Really, one way of looking at it is this journey from anonymous known to understood, being when you're starting to infer preferences based on clicks on a website, for example, or emails that have been opened. And then to understood is really when you're starting to combine a mixture of behavioral data, real-time data, essentially behavioral data, and transactional data, typically, or data held in the CRM. So bring those sort of things together. Now, also bearing in mind sort of customer preferences and around what information we want to submit, so, and what you're actually the information we're actually actioning upon. So, for example, being able to control that and be able to control permissions within that as well is extremely important as you're building that journey towards understood. Typical customer life cycle here as well that we're contending with. So, obviously, each touch point within this customer life cycle, you've got different data that's been collected throughout there, and it sort of comes back to that idea of how do we actually consolidate that information. So this would be a very typical overview of that, where you've got information from email campaigns, you may be running social campaigns, you've got, in some cases, customers have got people calling them up, you've got chat bots, various digital campaigns that are running through there, all these different touch points is making sense of that data. And it really has come down to this this idea of this customer 360 and a single view of customer, which I heard mentioned on the previous presentation as well, and data unification. And as we're really sort of taking control here, and also taking the opportunity as brands to be able to put that control in our customers' hands and being more upfront about that as well. I think Apple in particular have been very, very clever with this as well, sort of understanding that where the kind of the public opinion has gone over the last couple of years and being able to provide that control back. But it's a challenge for every brand now, and particularly if you've got multiple brands as well, customers and cross-brand activity as well. This is actually quite a challenge. So being able to have a concept of data unification and customer 360 profiles, often in the customer data platform area as well, managing real-time data with sort of transactional data and getting some insight and next best action. These are all facets of a first-party data strategy. I mean, ultimately, and this was mentioned a lot in the previous presenter, it's about building trust. So it's about earned and nurturing immediate, and in fact, there was a value exchange. So like starting off with a personalized email to various different exchanges throughout that process. And I think hence to be able to managing permissions and opt-in, opt-out, this is going to be a way of the future as you're engaging across channels and you're getting value through that. I know we don't run out of time. I'll give you a few examples in a bit more time, but I think ultimately this is a trust issue, and it's about empowering your customers to have those controls, being upfront with those things. This is an opportunity for brands to be at the forefront of this. And these privacy changes and cookie management are really just opportunities to build better customer experiences ultimately. And on that note, I will move to the Q&A.
Thanks so much. It's always tough fitting things in such short slots. So your point about data unification, I think is a really good one. And you mentioned the customer data platform, CDPs. Are you seeing an increase in the number of brands that are looking at CDPs as a way of bringing together all this kind of disparate data from different channels?
100%. And I think pretty much everybody's talking about CDPs at the moment. And that area as well itself is quite confusing around the difference between identity management and an actual true CDP. But ultimately, it comes down to insight, customer insight across those, ability to be able to leverage the best of real-time and transactional data in real time, but also increasing machine learning. We're all busy, and it's how do we unlock insight and the ability for probabilistic insight about what customers want next, about the next best step. All of that can be achieved through CDP platforms.
Agree. Great. Well, look, thank you for that. Unfortunately, we're short of time, so we're going to have to move on, but I really appreciate you joining us this morning.